What's up, guys? Welcome to a rather raw episode of A Fistful of Collars. It's episode 10. Can you believe it? 10th episode. Man,
done a lot of these.
Slow by. We have done a lot of these, right? But I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun. Sorry for any technical problems, and thank you for bearing with us today. Just things are a little bit wild. That's how it goes in the world of jiu-jitsu sometimes, right? You got to adapt. You got to be ready to pivot.
It's a savage lifestyle.
It is a savage lifestyle. Speaking of savage, I know that's one of the things you enjoy most, savageness. Man, the next couple of weeks are absolutely savage. Whew, I was looking at my travel itinerary yesterday, and man, it is going to be rough, non-stop.
Things are starting to roll.
So many events, right?
Yeah. Pretty much like every weekend we have events from here till June, it feels like. So.
Major events, too.
Yeah,
just,
huge events.
Regional things. We're talking World Pro is coming up, so like less than 14 days. So.
Yeah.
All over the world. Let's just recap quickly. I know the guy with the big grin over here going to Guam, in case you forgot.
Mariana's is going to be awesome.
Yep, Mariana's pro in Guam.
I'm going to be in Abu Dhabi for the World Pro with Will, who today is actually like a big Will-shaped hole right here next to me. He's in New York because this weekend you're going to New York for
Kasai Pro, yep. I'm just about to head out for Kasai Pro 2 in Brooklyn, New York. Man, super excited about this event. This is going to be a crazy event. Obviously, we've been talking about it all week. We talked about it for a couple weeks. I think everybody's pretty well versed on what we got coming up here. Everybody knows about Gio versus Nikki and Hanato Canuto versus Eddie Cummings, and then the 185-pound middleweight tournament. Just it's gonna be sick. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm gonna be on the ground, so keep an eye out.
We'll be watching from home. We'll be streaming that April 14th at 7 p.m. local time, I think, East Coast.
Yeah. So it should be 6 p.m. CST here.
Perfect. Well, we'll be watching that from the comfort of my brand new sofa. I'm looking forward to experiencing that on the big screen, because it's a great show. And I think one of the things that makes the show so interesting is the fact that they've got lots of different rule sets on the same show. So the round robin, the 8-man middleweight tournament. Explain the rules for that.
Well, the middleweight tournament is it's IBJJF rules technically. But it's 6 minutes fights, and under IBJJF rules, but they really incent.
But like big difference, no advantages.
No advantages, and they really seem to.
Heel hooks.
Yeah. Heel hooks. You're missing the big word. We're queuing it up for you. You forgot.
Oh yeah.
Oh, dude, there's no gi. They're letting them go with heel hooks. So
no gi. No gi. I'm sorry. Yeah, IBJJF points. Rules with heel hooks, with all submissions being legal. That's what I was getting to. Submissions galore. That any submission that you want, including heel hooks. Yes, that's right. Yep.
All right.
Also, we cannot forget it's a round robin affair, which is super cool. We'll find out the groups here. I hope very soon, and that just allows for so many great matches, right? You have
a lot of matches.
Yeah.
Jackson.
All the guys are going to fight each other. They end up moving on to the next round based on a point system, whether you get a submission 3 points or you just went on points 2 points. Then those guys, whoever win the group, they move on to the semifinals, and those guys fight. So it's going to be a lot of fights. That's the great part about Kasai Pro 1. We saw all those guys fight everybody. They're doing it again.
Yeah, I'm stoked. And what's really interesting is on the same card, you've also got super fights, right? So you got Gio and Nikki, you got AJ versus Marcus Galvao, and of course the title fight, which is Eddie Cummings versus Hanato Canuto. And all of those matches are kind of under different rules. You got like submission only. I think it's like 15 minutes for, man, I need to double check.
Some are 15
minutes,
minutes,
right?
some are 20. I think Nikki and Gio is scheduled for 20.
With like no overtime, no golden score. I think, is it Eddie and Hanato's possibly got like a sudden death round?
Yeah, there's a sudden death points
round.
In the Marcus Galvao versus AJ Agazarm and Hanato Canuto versus Eddie Cummings. Those are both the same overtime rules, the same match rules. They're both 20-minute matches with the same overtime points coming into play. And then the only one that's different is Nikki versus Gio.
It's 20 minutes, sub only with the judges if there's no outcome in the regulation period. So
yeah, it might actually be 15 minutes.
It's 20.
I think it might be 15.
It's definitely 20.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see on day of what it is, but I think
hey,
it's 15.
You never know. It might change because that's kind of half the game.
From what I understand, it's something that's been changing. So.
I say definitely, and now you make me doubt it. I've actually got an email right here from somebody from Kazai saying it's 20.
Okay.
But now you got me doubting it, because that's half the game, right? It's kind of like negotiating the rules to best suit you. And I think this is one of the great things about jiu-jitsu, is that there's a lot of flexibility in the grappling world to compete under different rule sets, right? Like, you know, all these events we're talking about right there. World Pro, they use the standard points, you know, 4 points for the back, 4 points for the mount, 3 for a guard pass, 2 for a sweep, 2 for a takedown, etc., with advantages. However, maximum 6-minute matches for black belts and so on. And then you got like fight to win, submission only, right? Judges, and that's it. We don't care about points, you know. And then Marianas Open, different again, 10-minute matches with points. And then Kazai. It opens for a lot of flexibility, right?
Yeah, we're definitely in the sport of jiu-jitsu, it feels like, definitely in this rules renaissance, where like you have a lot of people on this side of the aisle who think this is the best rule set, and a lot of people over here think this is the best rule set, and then there's people way over there who are like, you guys are crazy, this is the best rule set. So everybody, it seems like, to be on a different team of rule sets right now.
So there's something for everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
The great
it's
thing,
true.
right?
There is something for everybody. It does feel a little bit weird when you come from like a traditional sports background and you like a sport like football or basketball. It seems that most of the time there's just one rule set for those sports, you know. And it's, and then you come to grappling.
Football played on like a 60-yard field, and then like a 100-yard field, a
exactly.
150-yard field. It's like, well, we prefer it this way.
Exactly.
Or maybe.
It's
fun how it kind of changes the game, though, and forces you to play a different style. Like at EBI, for example, like there's no stand-up fighting. You just sit right to the ground. But maybe it makes more sense where there's points involved to actually work for a takedown, to stay on top. And ADCC, where you can't pull guard for 5 minutes. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. So,
well, speaking of crazy stuff, I remember I interviewed Eddie Cummings back in 2015, and of course this is just as Eddie, just after he got his black belt, and he was out there and he was, you know, winning all these submission-only matches with heel hooks and stuff. And just as the Danaher Death Squad were really coming on the scene in a big way, right? And he was cutting weight, and he was kind of a little bit grumpy, and he just came out big time with like this rant about rules. And he was like, man, he like went off on IBJJF rules, saying that, man, if you train for IBJJF rules, it's like the sport dictating the future of the art, right? And this is kind of what is happening now, right? You've got guys who are just training for certain rule sets, right? How often do you go with the guy in the gym and the guy's like, well, I'm sub only, right?
Yeah, I think like what I've learned a lot from this is that like you can't, because I feel like people were gaming the rules, or people were finding ways around the rules, or something like that, and people got tired of that, so they switched the rules, and maybe that's sort of one way that the rules changes got motivated. But it just feels like it's impossible not for people to try to game the rules or try to gain an edge in some way on the rules, you know, like whether it's a 20-minute submission-only fight, there's still a way to game those rules, right? And
sure.
And if you're at EBI, you know, where you have overtime, or the 10-minute submission only, but with the overtime rounds, there's certainly a way to game those rules as well, you know? So, like, I'm not sure if we're accomplishing everything that, like, rule changes are trying to accomplish.
Well, even Danaher himself said there is no perfect rule set, you know? He kind of personally feels that, like, the purest form is just no time limit, submission only, but it's unwatchable, right?
It is.
And
90-minute match, it's terrible.
It's brutal to try and sit down and watch something like that. Nobody's got time for it. Even though a lot of the competitors are, like, not too stoked about that kind of prospect, right?
Yeah. But just like the idea of it is great, right? The
idea
of like you versus you guys walk onto the mat, and we don't leave, and we don't leave until somebody taps out. That feels like jiu-jitsu to me.
It feels like a nap to me. I mean, you just know it's going to be so slow and arduous. Like, unless there's some crazy mistake in the beginning, no one's going to want to tire out. And so you know, if there's no submission the first 5 minutes, there's going to be no submission for the next 45 minutes. You're going to go into an hour.
Everybody's got their bugbears about rules, right? People will gravitate to one rule set over another, and we've really seen that kind of schism happen within the community now. And there's like a real hard sentiment against points tournaments, and then a lot of people like die hard sub only, while the other guys are like, you sub only guys suck, you're dumb. It's not real jiu-jitsu. You're just sitting on your ass all day. So, what about you guys? Do you have any strong feelings on rules? Like, are there any rules that you like or dislike, or? even within rule sets, it's like a rule.
I was just gonna say sub only till I die. That's where I
Really?
That's where I live.
I would
so.
not have guessed that. I think sub only is garbage. No, actually, I don't want to sound like I'm pandering, but I really do like watching all of them. I think they do bring out fun parts of the game. I do think submission only does provide more boring matches than point systems. I think Josh Hinger's made a few great points in some articles about how, points incentivize action. They incentivize movement and also recovery. If you get
he even made a case for advantages on that.
Exactly.
That same whole idea, right?
Sub only, you get past and you're in side control. You're just going to shell up and wait until it's super safe instead of I've got 4 minutes left and I'm down on points. So I'm a fan of points. I think it makes sense, but you can do so many variations on points. Like, it's really limitless. But as long as people are incentivized to score and to move, that's something that I'm in favor of.
Yeah, exactly. I like that too. I'm really a big fan of keeping the match going. And the problem with submission only is exactly like you said. Sometimes it can get just locked up in a certain position, and guys don't move. But unfortunately, that will also happen in matches with rules. Now, a great example was 2016. Absolute final at the World Championships. I remember Buchecha and Herbert Santos were sat there in that 50-50 guard position for like 8 minutes and nothing happened.
Almost got DQ'd.
But I mean, it was like the most anticlimactic, unsatisfying, because the absolute final is meant to be the big one. It's the last match of the day, the World Championships. It's the pinnacle, right? It's the biggest title in the IBJJF world, in the gi world. And the match was just garbage, and that's no fault to either of the competitors. They got locked in a position, and there was no safe way for either guy to open up the game without giving something up. And of course, nobody's gonna, allow the other guy a chance to score. But as spectators, everybody was just like, no, worst thing ever. However, what?
It did have that great explosion at the end. And if it was a no time limit submission only, they would have sat there until the day was over.
That is true. 4 hours later, they'd be in the same position. But personally, my feeling is that I'm a huge advocate of harsh penalties on stalling, and in any position. And I really feel that we should have restart positions in jiu-jitsu as well. Now, wrestling has it, right? They have the referee position, or they also call it the parterre, where the guy will get down on fours because if the guy's under penalty or he's not seen as being active.
I guess that's folk style wrestling has that.
Correct. Yeah, but I mean, they actually have a position where nothing's happening, down, and the guy is put in an attacking position, go. And I feel that jiu-jitsu lacks that, because even when it happens, guys will go out of bounds with a submission, they get 2. And they'll get restart standing. It's like all the work the guy did to get there, and he gets rewarded with nothing. And sometimes those matches as well. I watched Yuri Samoy's Victor Silverio last week for the San Jose Open, right? And it was literally 9 minutes of standing on their feet, grip fighting, walking back and forth. Now, Victor Silverio's not going to give Yuri any chances. Vice versa. Yuri's not going to give Victor any chances. Nobody really wants to pull guard in a match like that. But there comes a point when it's like, that's not jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I especially I don't mind people pulling guard, because it's like, that's what we're here to do. We're here to fight on the ground. So it's like, if somebody pulls guard, I never get bent out of shape seeing people pull guard.
Get it down any means necessary?
Yeah. But I just was going to say that I like what ADCC does. I think that's an interesting way to do things, because they kind of tried to combine the two rule sets, right? They tried to combine sub only and points, and so I think that's
they incentivize takedowns, right?
They still do, yeah. You're right. And there's something that they have. I feel like even still, I think ADCC needs a little work, but I feel like they are a little bit more aggressive with the penalties, like you're saying, or the stalling calls, because I totally agree that's just something that we need. We don't have a culture of stalling or a culture of penalties, it feels like, within the sport. But within the sport like wrestling, where they really have a culture of that stalling, because I was just watching the World Cup over the last weekend, where the United States won, and it's the same thing. It's like 20 seconds into the match, if the guy takes a step back, boom, he's on a shot clock. He has 30 seconds to score, or he gets a point against him now. So it's like he has 30 seconds to score points now. So that's a really great way, I feel like, to.
I'd love a shot clock for takedowns. Actually, we do it for a double guard pull. So why don't we do it for if you've been standing there pushing each other for 3 minutes? I mean,
somebody's got to go on.
Someone's got to go to the ground.
Yeah.
However it gets there, guard pull, takedown, someone's going to the ground, or you both get another penalty.
I can only think of 2 instances in the last couple of years where like a high-profile black belt has been DQ'd for what has been perceived as stalling or accumulation of penalties. And there was that double DQ at Pans. Remember when Tammy Musmeci and Beatriz Mosquita got double DQ'd? And that was kind of wild, right? Because they kept going down to the double guard pull, and the referee was like, no, boom, you're out of here, both of you. And then the other one was last year's World Pro. When remember Lucas Hulk got DQ'd?
Yes.
Because they brought in this whole new penalty system at World Pro where it's no longer 20 seconds in activity before you get penalized, it's 10. And I don't think Lucas really knew that well because it was still kind of a new rule and it was just sort of like being developed. And also what they're doing now as well is they don't stop it and tell the guy that he's being penalized. What happens is in World Pro, they'll say, okay, they'll signal like penalty, and a 10-second clock will come up on the scoreboard and he'll start counting down. And if the guy does something in that 10 seconds, then the clock will stop, the 10-second clock will stop, and the penalty will get taken away. But if he doesn't, the penalty stays. But he doesn't interrupt the match. He doesn't stop the match, or he doesn't stop the match to issue the penalty and then let them carry on. So Lucas is like fighting and fighting and fighting, and he don't realize he's racking up penalties at the same time. So
Gotcha.
Kind of crazy, huh? But rule sets, so many of them, right? And we're talking about the rule sets as well. They're dictating like how people train now, right? And one of the big things, I think, that one of the biggest things for me in the last couple of years, this is like a huge paradigm shift in jiu-jitsu, is with the rise of the sub-only movement in jiu-jitsu, man, all of a sudden, everybody's training leg locks, right?
Yeah, can't avoid them. I mean, secret's out if you don't.
If you're not training leg locks, right?
You're getting it screwed. Yeah, 100%.
And something that you've been dabbling with, Chase?
A little bit. I think we all got fired up after ADCC. Just it's why would you ignore 50% of the human body, as someone once said. I don't know who that might have been, but it really is interesting to play at those entanglements, and I feel it lends itself to drilling and repping out sets of just training more so than chokes, for example. Like it's pretty boring to work a bow and arrow choke over and over again. It doesn't feel
boring for who? You or your partner?
Probably horrible for them if I'm doing it right. But when you're changing those entanglements and switching legs around and switching for different kinds of submissions, going from straight ankle to heel hook, and then there's so much variation there that you can really start to just scientifically kind of upgrade your game, and I think that's pretty cool, actually. I don't know if you guys have been playing with that at all, but it's been working for me.
I've dabbled with leg locks, in my time, and I even kind of got every gym has a leg lock guy, right? And I wasn't that guy because I would do everything, but there was a time then I kind of spent attacking a lot of leg locks, and people were like, "Oh man, watch out, he's got really good leg locks." And I was like, "I know, I'm just the only person who does them." So you think that, but that's
probably a big reason why they get so popular, right? Is because like you do have one guy in the gym who's like able to just catch everybody in the gym with leg locks because nobody else had, or at least in the beginning, nobody else had trained leg locks.
Exactly.
So that seems like why this meteoric rise was so quick, was because it was like I don't know, maybe not an easier way to tap somebody, but like,
if you don't train them and you don't know them, then you're not going to know the defense. So it kind of will be easier, right?
Yeah.
And this is what you found, right? You've been training a little bit, and you actually found your defense.
100%. I'm super new. I'm by far one of the most mediocre leg lockers in the gym. But yeah, as soon as you start using them offensively, you start to see the setups further out from your opponents as well, and yeah, it's pretty satisfying to not actually be terrified either. To know when you're actually in danger of being submitted versus they're still working for it and you can escape, and also the options you have because they're right there. A lot of times it is, why not technically 50-50 position, your 50-50 chance of maybe setting up something better for yourself.
Yeah, that whole concept though of 50-50, and that's kind of like comes with the leg fighting game, right? Is that I really feel that you live by the leg lock and you die by the leg lock, right?
Yeah, I remember Gary Tonin was saying something about, they posted on Facebook that like every training session I tap 25 times, like wrap your head around that, and like probably exaggerating maybe a little bit, but
Sounds like Gary.
but you know, he's playing the leg lock game with a room full of good leg lockers. So you know,
It reminds me a lot of the
Risky
lapel
take,
guard,
yeah.
right? Like if you're playing worm guard against someone who's never tried to defend it, you have a pretty easy time doing it. And so it's really a way of sort of separating your game from the norm. Like if they don't know it, they're screwed. And so it's worth looking into it, as Eddie Bravo might say.
Into it. You know, one thing about the drilling thing as well, you mentioned there about how you found that the leg lock's a little bit more entertaining to drill. Man, I gotta say, you know, one of the things that I enjoyed the most drilling over the last couple of years was I went through a big guard passing phase of drilling. It was inspired originally when I was watching the Meow Brothers drill back there in Sao Paulo when I went to the gym and I did a video with them. And man, the way those guys drilled guard passes was just as technical as other people would drill like really complicated sweeps and stuff, you know. Everything was so precise, all the grips were perfect, and they were like really analyzing the pressure points and stuff. And this is back when they were like, you know, kind of early black belts and never saw them on top. And now you do see them on top a lot. You see them passing, and their passing's legit, man. They come up and they like really grind over people. And a lot of that influence came from Murilo Santana, right? And he's like renowned as one of the nastiest, gnarliest pressure passers in the business. And I started studying the BJJ Scout Murilo videos, right? And I was like, oh man, these are like so good. And I was getting into it, and I was using the positions. But there's just one downside that I found to drilling that. Man, it hurts. It hurt my head. Because so much of Murilo's game is like head down, like on the chest or under the guy's chin, and like just driving forward all the time. Man, you know, some people get cauliflower ear. I literally got cauliflower head. From like my eyebrows.
where all the hair went?
Yeah, exactly. I just ripped it up. From my eyebrows up to like the here, my head was just constantly sore and inflamed, and it was rough.
I mean, we've drilled before, and it is miserable. Like to be under that and have him just over and over again driving his head into your face. It's
you're like, all right,
like,
enough of this.
All right, I get it. You have heavy pressure. Like, let's move on. But it makes sense to drill. It is not easy to do. So
I like drilling barambolos for some reason. Like I'm not really great at it.
Surprised.
And I have like a long lanky kind of body, so like it doesn't really lend well to me. But like I just find it like super fun for some reason drilling like the inversion stuff.
That's interesting.
I like drilling that
plus
stuff.
hitting
Never
a berimbolo
would
is
have
really fun.
related to a berimbolo guy.
Good story, real quick. I tried to hit a berimbolo on Travis Stevens.
How did that go?
He came up like on his knee in like a combat base, you know, and I was like, I'm gonna go for a berimbolo, and then he like called me out, and he was like, "Are you about to try to berimbolo me?" I was like telegraphing that much.
What if I said yes?
Yeah. And he was like, Go ahead. Go ahead. You know.
My guess.
And I tried, and it didn't work. It didn't work.
Well, speaking of cauliflower head, and you can hopefully see on my mug right here, it's my brand new jiu-jitsu mug, cauliflower ear right there. There we go. Man, I've been training jiu-jitsu a very long time. Look how beautiful my ears are. I've never had a cauliflower ear. Pristine, one might say. Never had a cauliflower ear. Whereas Chase, you pointed this out to me earlier. Look at that bad boy.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it way back there, but
a little bit red.
Doing a little bit of wrestling lately, and they're coming in nicely. Both my ears are
balancing them out. Right?
You can't be the most beautiful person in the room all the time.
Have you ever had to drain it?
I drained them both ears. And my first year as a white belt twice,
Really?
and then they never really came back until recently. I've been doing more pressure passing myself and putting your head down and grinding into people.
Feel it, Robin?
Did you see Mike Columbus's?
Yeah, it's huge. Mike Columbus has a giant walnut on his ear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This was huge.
And he's been draining it a lot. He's been using
brutal.
like those magnets as well to try and keep it compressed. That's one of those ones.
Never had it like that.
Never
No.
gonna go away. How about yours?
He's got a pretty good one.
A tiny little bit. But yeah, wrestling, I'd always wear headgear, so I never got it.
I remember at Road
So
to Worlds.
you never got cauliflower until jiu-jitsu.
Until jiu-jitsu,
And that's after years of wrestling, right?
Yeah.
So, but not that many people wear headgear in jiu-jitsu, right?
It's horrible.
It is horrible. It sucks. I wore it once because I had like a cut on my head, and I was just like, I couldn't hear anything anybody was saying, and it was just like dumb, and my head was getting stuck all the time.
Yeah.
Rough.
It doesn't work well.
But about the cauliflower ear, I remember that Shanji Hibero had a good quote, because he doesn't have cauliflower ears either, right? No, and he said, man, You don't get cauliflower ears when you're on top in mount.
It's hard to get cauliflower ear when you're submitting everybody.
Yeah. So
I tried to use that line in Rio. The cab driver was asking me, a few of us were in a cab going out after an event, and he's like, "Are you a jiu-jitsu fighter?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, you know, I win." He's like, Your ears look fine. I tried the Sanji line, but I had lost my first match. So I was like, it didn't really work, and he saw right through it. He's like, nah.
But they are.
You're not.
You're not mounting anybody, bro.
They're not just a badge of honor, though, right? And so for some guys, it's like, they love the cauliflower ears. But it's kind of that thing that you kind of see somebody, and you know, maybe the guy looks kind of strong, and he's got like a thick neck, and you kind of just like you do that, right? Everybody does that, and you're like, nah, he doesn't have cauliflower ears. Probably a pussy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's absolutely that thing. I mean, do you check guys' ears out?
I mean, not
Not
sexually,
in that
but
way. No, I'm sure you don't. I hope you don't.
Obviously, you see someone out in the wild with some serious ears on them, and you go, I wonder that guy probably wrestled or does jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, back home, back in the UK, it's like, because nobody wrestles, if you got cauliflower ears, until jiu-jitsu came along, it was like one or two reasons. It was either judo, and those judo guys have some gnarly cauliflower ears because they get so much time like held in the scarf hole, right? And the other thing was rugby. A lot of rugby players get cauliflower ears. They get gnarly ones as well. So to be honest, it's kind of like that natural warning sign, isn't it? Like you see a gigantic guy with cauliflower ears, it's like, don't fuck with that guy.
Yeah, I feel like anytime I see a guy with cauliflower ears, I'm like, my dude. This guy knows. This guy knows what's up.
And you know, even Gianni Gruppo, he put up a Facebook post a couple of weeks ago, and he said that he's been training for 15 years, over 15 years, and he's only now just got the first signs of cauliflower ear in his life.
Yeah.
Is that luck, or is it genetics, or?
Yeah, I don't know what that would be. I don't really know.
It's got to be genetics, partially. I mean,
you think so?
Yeah, I've seen guys
I'm sure
come into the
he's
gym.
doing what needs to be done to get cauliflower ear, right?
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, you said you trained yours when you were a white belt. I literally would see guys come into the gym like 3 weeks white belt, and they just boom, you know, an ear the size of a basketball on the side of the head.
Same thing with like skin infections, you were saying, right? Like some guys just get it, and some
susceptible,
guys never have staph or ringworm or anything like that.
Well, fingers crossed these ears will stay as they are. I gotta say though, I did find an old photo of myself the other day, and my ears were like practically glued to the side of my head.
Really?
And I was like comparing them, and I was like, damn, they've got bigger.
Really?
Like, yeah. So mine aren't getting like cauliflower; they're just sticking out more. So. Oh well,
funny.
We don't do jiu-jitsu to stay pretty, right? Anyway, I think that's probably a good time to wrap things up today. Man, it's going to be a busy couple of weeks, and there's going to be some changes.
It's going to be a busy couple months.
It is, and we might not be able to keep the same schedule that we have been because there's so much travel. So next week, I think it's time to announce it quite yet because we're still in the process of confirming it, but hopefully we should have a special guest next week because both you guys are going to be on the road.
it's true.
Yeah, so it'll be myself and a nice little surprise. So,
A guest. Sweet.
a guest. We like guests. It was great having Craig in here the other week,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
That was awesome.
Travis Stevens was very memorable. That guy's awesome. So
Yeah, go back and check that out. Well, guys, remember that you can check every episode of Fistful of Collars on YouTube, on FloGrappling.com, on iTunes, and out in the wild. Follow us at FloGrappling. See you next time.